Welcome time travelers, and welcome new time travelers. As always, if you're new, please consider hitting that like button, comment, and subscribe. Without further ado, let's head back to 1468 when German craftsman, inventor, and printer Johannes Gutenberg, whose printing press was considered a history-changing invention, passed away in minutes. For those who enjoy learning about American history and were wondering when some of the first paper money was issued, look no further back than 1690 and Massachusetts, when the colonists there issued the first paper money in the American colonies. Moving on to 1811, when American newspaper editor Horace Greeley, known as one of the most perspective anti-slavery voices in the antebellum North, was born in Amherst, New Hampshire. Now, in 1865, in a personal meeting with Confederate representatives, U.S. President Abraham Lincoln offered liberal pardons in exchange for the South's quitting the Civil War, with reunion as a precondition of peace, an offer that was rejected. On this day in 1870, the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution of the United States was ratified, guaranteeing the right to vote regardless of race and intended to ensure, with the 14th Amendment, the civil rights of former slaves. Just 4 years later, in 1874, avant-garde American writer Gertrude Stein, whose Paris home was a saloon for leading artists and writers of the period between World War I and World War II, was born. 20 years later, in 1874, the first American steel ship, the Dargo, was launched from Bath, Maine. On this day in 1913, the 16th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, granting Congress the authority to levy income taxes, was ratified. Moving on to 1917, not yet involved in World War I, the United States broke off diplomatic relations with Germany after the Germans announced their intention to practice unrestricted submarine warfare. 7 years later, in 1924, former U.S. President Woodrow Wilson passed away at the age of 67. Now, in 1959, American rock and roll singer Buddy Holly tragically lost his life in a plane crash at the age of 22. The following year, in 1960, the Italian dramedy La Dolce Vita, which was directed by Federico Fellini, I'm not sure if I'm actually saying that correctly, had its world premiere, and it became widely hailed as one of the most important films in cinema. On this day in 1975, Egyptian singer Kulthum, who was one of the most famous Arab singers and public personalities of the 20th century, passed away in Cairo. 1975 also brought us the battle for control of Mekong River, the only surface route for shipping supplies to the Cambodian capital of Phnom Penh, intensified as Cambodian insurgents sank a number of empty supply vessels that were returning to South Vietnam. It's first time the rebels had mined the river. In 1995, American astronaut Ellen Collins became the first woman to pilot a space shuttle, the Discovery. 2003 brought us legendary rock and roll producer Phil Spector, who was arrested for murder of a woman found dead in his home in Anaheim, California. Moving on to 2005, when American lawyer and judge Alberto R. Gonzalez was sworn in as the Attorney General of the United States, becoming the first Hispanic to occupy this post. The following year, in 2006, large demonstrations against cartoons mocking the Prophet Muhammad took place in Palestine, Egypt, Turkey, Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, Indonesia, and Malaysia. And with that, we return to 2024 and our current history. Let's see what this year has in store for us. Until then.